our city, to our town. We have been around about 9 years, and we have a Facebook page. And since I don't do Facebook, I've never been to it. Oh, it's quite well done. Now we have Robert. You want to introduce yourself, speak very briefly, and then I have questions because these wonderful people have come to hear your answers.
Okay. Robert Dye. I think most of you in the room know me by now, but homegrown, born and raised here in Farmers Branch, product of our CFBISD school system, that I'm very proud of, and went to Texas Tech University, triple majored in finance, economics, and accounting. I have my MBA from SMU for work. I do commercial real estate development, and previously, before running for mayor, served on the Parks and Rec Board here in Farmers Branch. Farmers Branch is near and dear to my heart, something I love very much, something I would love to get back to and be a servant leader for our residents here. Someone that hopefully speaks on behalf of everyone and have everyone's best interest to move our city forward and continue to move it along. And tonight, I'm here to answer any questions that you may have. I know we're going to have some written if time permits towards the end, and I'll probably take some questions from the audience as well, just to kind of hopefully answer any final questions you might have about me as we approach, early voting starting next week. So, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for being here.
This is one of the larger crowds.
Robert, we have 4 questions we have just now received from citizens. Number 1, have you received any contributions from any developer?
I will say yes if I count my own funds, but outside of that, I haven't taken any money from a real estate developer or anything that's commercial or institutional.
No developers who have business before our city?
0.
No developers from the west side?
0.
Robert, you are the only candidate I have heard talk about education. As mayor, how do you see the city's interaction with the school board and the schools?
So, as I just said, I am a product of the CFBISD. Education is very important to me, which is why I've continued to go back, and I think in the future I'll probably go back for my PhD, not now or in the next couple of years, but later on, just to find something to do when I'm in my older years, to get a nice salary, be able to vacation in the summer and winter, with money coming in. But I know as mayor and with the city, we really can't dictate what the school districts are going to do or enforce anything. But what we can do is sit down with them, let them know that we back them, that we have our goals in line for our city, the schools have their goals. How do we align those goals to move forward so that we're creating an environment here where students have an opportunity to exceed in our schools, both DISD and CFBISD. I feel that as mayor, I can be out there championing new programs that we might like to see that are going to attract younger families here. Turner has the METSA program, which I believe is an anagram of STEM, which is your science, technology, engineering, and math. And I've seen several cases where those programs succeed, on the elementary level, to where you get students excited about that early. And, they can go to field where, Tex Express has just paid for a Baker station, which is a crucial component of a STEM program. And so, being able to add another program that would branch off of the dual language program at Stark, which is, one of the, I guess one of our top elementary schools, and there's a lottery system get in there, and people are excited about those programs. How can we build on that and champion that with the school district to figure out, can we work with businesses to, provide money for training for these programs, to pay for maker stations so that we're not coming out of budget, but they're back in the schools and that we're back in the schools. And, we need to market it better and promote it, and promote, our schools so that people get behind that as well. And there's not that backlash or that, I guess the sentiment that we're not for them. And given our proximity to DFW and the top private schools in our area, we need to promote that as well. You don't need to live in Highland Park, University Park to go to Jesuit, St. Mark's, Hockaday, Ursuline. You can live right here in our backyard. And we have fine private institutions here too, Mary Immaculate, Parish, just to name a few. So what are we going to do to get behind education as a city to say we're for this, we want to move it forward, and figure out new ways to push for these programs that are going to get people excited about moving to Farmers Branch for education. So that's something I'm for.
What is your position setting up a dog park in our city? All cities around us have one or more, but we don't.
So that's definitely a hot button issue. A lot of people here want a dog park. We don't have one, and the more apartments we build, you hear that 70–80% of people in apartments have dogs. Most people in the city have dogs, and where are you going to take them to kind of socialize with other people to do that? And I know Terry Lynn has actually been a strong advocate and has been working on some of those. I think we talked to Brookhaven Community College about opportunities there. There was a proposal, I believe, 5 years ago that went to Montgomery to see if we could reposition that school. And that's something I feel that as we strengthen our relationship with CFDISD, and if the time's right and the structure's right, could we actually buy that school, put it across the street from our rec center, put it somewhere city center, and have another opportunity there. It's something that I think we need to explore and find some land. I know we've talked about the landfill over there on the west side being a park and multi-purpose as well. So, that is something I would champion, something that I would, put as an agenda item to kind of figure out how can we work for that, and hopefully be able to take input from people that live in the city too. That, do you have a good idea where we could put one? Because if we can do that, and you have, we'd love to listen to that and implement it so that we can satisfy a lot of our residents' requests, for a dog park in our city.
As a developer, how do we know you will not make decisions that benefit yourself rather than the citizens, the city, or the will of the people?
So I guess stated this before, and as a developer, I know there is some concern with, do I have a self-serving interest in this? And the answer for business and financially is no. If I did have a development in the city, I would recuse myself from anything that is going on, just so that everyone knows it's on the up and up. But what I hope to do is leverage my relationships, contacts, knowledge, and things to, I guess, attract the developers that build the type of product that we want, that are focused in these areas and know how to get it done, to bring them to the table and say, how can we get something done that works? My only interest is this city in delivering, the different types of developments in the areas that we want and we want to enjoy, that bring a sense of community. And my first thought is the dart station and creating something there. There's some work that needs to be done, but that is kind of, I guess that would be one of my passion projects. And the new development that's going in on the east side of the old Great Outdoors is something that resembles what we might need over there. Some mixed use that has different purposes, but restaurants and office and places where people can work and play, use the dog rail, play off of the Firehouse Theater. You have the historical park, you have the Farmers Branch Market. So you have a lot of pieces there that can we find, unique things that Carrollton isn't doing, that Valley Ranch isn't doing, that Irving isn't doing, and Addison, and take those missing pieces and build that puzzle with quality programming. It's going to, keep that small town feel, the Farmers Branch that we love so much, but keep something unique there that we can all cherish, that helps bolster the things that are already in place. And so, back to the question, as a developer, it's solving that problem, reaching out to the people that I know to say, hey, come take a look at this. We have a great area, it's a great opportunity, and let's kind of put that to work and finish off the dart station area.
There's two somewhat related questions, and I'm going to ask the first one. What is your plan for tax cuts and a freeze on senior taxes?
So definitely something we've touched on here, and I know it's something that's important to a lot of people in this room. My stance on the tax cuts is I would continue the tax rate as it is right now. And the reason for that is, the added revenue that we've been given through, the appreciation of home values, commercial values, and some of the developments are coming online, is dollars that we will be able to put back into work for the city to, do some of these programs. It might eliminate the need, for the bond program that people are talking about in November or next May to fund the trail system, to fund, the demo rebuild program and things that we need at the Dart Station area. So we can use those funds now without raising the rate. We won't have to, raise, bond funds and go to the city to see if we can get that and use our money wisely to reinvest in these areas and prepare them for the developers, the projects, and the programs that we would like to do. And once we have a few of those things going, and things are stabilized and our tax base is getting larger, I would then look to make tax cuts. I don't think we should, slow down now and, drop back the money that we might have available to us to reinvest in our city. We are an older city, and there's some things that we need to reinvest in, and I think now's the time. Market conditions are prime. We have, 100,000 people moving to the Metroplex a year, and so we need to do some things that are gonna, get them excited about Farmers Branch and put some of these programs in place that a lot of other cities have, that we haven't implemented yet. And so, regarding the tax cuts, that's why we just stay the course. I don't want to, I don't want to raise the rate. I want to do things responsibly. If we can stay within our budget and use funds that are available to us now without raising debt, I think that's the way to go. And be smart and find cuts to, add some of these programs. And I'm sure, some of the things that I've talked about doing, some of the new programs, people are probably wondering, where are we going to get the money for that? And it's the money that we're already getting through taxes now. But a concern is the senior citizens, especially the ones that, are worried about losing their home because home values are going up so high. And, I don't want to put a freeze on senior citizen taxes because once you implement that, it's very hard to undo it. And it's something you lock in. And without knowing where our demographics are really going in the city, that could strap us later. But for people that are struggling and hurting, we have to find ways to, help them out. And some ideas are other cities have expanded some exemptions for people to qualify. To say, hey, we understand you're struggling, you're on a very fixed income, you've lived in your home for X number of years, we're here to help you. How can we reach out to realtors and other people in the community that are willing to help these people and say, we will help you with your, protest of your taxes, to get that value down because, they take a few comps, they see that it's rising, it's added up across the board, and when you're in a specific situation, we can point to that and be like, my taxes don't need to be raised that much. So, it's outreach, it's understanding people that are in need, helping them out, and finding new answers that are going to allow us to do that without putting in a freeze, that's just going to lock everyone in, and something that's going to be very hard to undo. So, that's my stance there.
So, Citizen A had asked you your plan for tax cuts and a freeze on senior taxes. Citizen B, their question is, what are your plans to reduce 34 million debt from lawsuits and where do we stand with it? How will this impact future spending on other projects?
Well, on that one, I'm going to have to say that I'm unaware of the $34 million in lawsuits.
Me too. Where'd that come from?
Well,
I'm sorry if the numbers are wrong. Whoever wrote the question, if they want to clarify.
It always grows.
I think what they're saying,
It always grows.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have to admit, I've never heard our city comptroller, VP of Finance, give a straight answer on any financial subjects, and he's a wonderful man. So I think, unless the person who wrote this question wants to stand up and clarify themselves,
I got
they're
this on the
saying that
website,
the city has 34 million in debt.
the debt and obligation, I got it.
Okay, let me
Okay.
bring you the microphone.
What website?
Yeah, I got this from the City of Farmers Branch
Oh, okay.
website.
Well,
It's from the lawsuit.
All right, well, all right, what line do you want to do? Okay.
You can take it.
We
That's
we
fine.
have a city handout with a bar graph that says outstanding tax-supported general obligation debt is $34.1 million at the end of 2016. Now, that would be debt from all sources, not just.
That's consolidated. Outstanding bond.
is the lawsuit part of that, or do we know?
Now, apparently,
This is general obligation bond.
so if we spent $6 million on federal court, that would be in lieu of other things, like a dog park, or other things that citizens want.
I guess 34 million, you're looking at $21 million bond on the roads, you're looking at the $10 million for the four corners where we redid the Walmart and retail, and I believe $3 million in the pool, which roughly gets us to that number. So looking at that, we have a low percentage of debt, to our revenue in the city, and it's very healthy. And so, we do need to note that we have enough money coming in to cover these, and it's not overburdening us or strapping us. But, with this extra revenue that we're getting through these increased appraisals and the tax revenue that's coming in, is there an opportunity to pay down debt faster? Should it make sense? That's a conversation with Charles, that's a conversation with the finance department to understand the tipping point of paying it off now versus paying it off later. And by doing that, we would effectively, I believe, reduce our tax rate because that's part of the obligation of the taxes. Think of our tax rate, we have about 51 cents, which is, covering overhead and everything else, and then 9 to 10 cents on the debt obligations to where, as we chip away with that, it rolls off. Unless we just keep the tax dollars coming in, we can pay it down faster or move the tax rate back down. So, some of those $21 million is improving our streets and roads, and that's stuff that we need. That's part of the reinvestment back into the city. But I guess doing all of those things, I guess some of the things that I can branch off to onto that was, some of the, I guess the certificates of obligation that were used for the Walmart area and for the pool. And I know that there's a lot of people that are frustrated that that went to a bond issue. And it was, we voted no as a community, and then we issued the certificates of obligation to it anyways. And so, branching off of that and raising debt to do things that the citizens didn't want is not something I would be a part of. If we take a bond to you guys and you say no, that's it. We'll find new ways, come back to the table, go to the drawing board, see what we can do to, achieve these things that we want to do for the city. But I don't plan on misrepresenting myself or misrepresenting the wishes of the public. So.
Can you have follow-up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to have follow-up questions?
Yeah, I think I can talk about it probably. So, in regard to that question, would it be possible for you to delineate what part of that debt you think is a result of the cost of the city from the immigration lawsuits and fines? And what part of that debt involves certificates of obligation that were issued subsequent to the citizens denying a project? Could you please break those out and explain how that process occurred and who made that choice?
So back to the lawsuit, and I believe it was a little more than $9 million that we spent on that. And to do so, we did it with the idea that we weren't going to use taxpayer dollars or raise taxes to go through not only the ordinance but all the appeals. And so by doing that, we had to make cuts. And some of the cuts were from our infrastructure repairs and things of that nature. So by delaying repairs out in time, did it lead to having to do a full, improvement and redo of some of the roads instead of just patching it along. I know that part of that bond was for the bridge and some of these other things that were needed, especially given a lot of the development that's going on, not only in Addison, but, here in Farmers Branch. And so, how much of it contributed to that $21 million, I can't say right now, but, with a plan to it, probably when you delay things, they usually get worse. And so it's gonna cost more to fix them. But on the certificates of obligation, I would say the 10 million and the 3 million for the pool for things that were shot down, but then rolled into a certificates of obligation. So hopefully that summarizes.
And who would have been on the council at that time that made those decisions? Do you recall one of some of those leaders?
It's kind of a history lesson.
O'Hare, Froehlich.
Yeah, there were several people on the council then. I mean, if you go back, you had Tim O'Hare,
Harold Froehlich.
David Koch was there for a while, Tim Scott, through that, Bill Blancy was there, Charlie Bird,
Michelle
Holmes.
Holmes.
I mean, we can go, I'm trying to recite off the top of my head.
Let's,
Yeah, I mean,
you'll take one to the next question.
Sure, thank you so much for answering.
Thank you.
All right, two persons asked a very similar question. I'm going to combine them. Part A, can you outline your plan to create a unified city? And then it segues into, can you please speak to the civility in politics, both local and national? And ideas to bring back civility.
can you repeat the first question?
I don't mean for it to be so long, but one citizen asked your plan to create a unified city. And so on my own initiative, I brought this other question in because they seem related. A unified city would also be a city's civil public discussion.
Okay, so for a unified city, first question, that would, in my mind, play into the input of our citizens and hopefully more people getting involved. As Bronson is run, as I'm running, you see a lot of younger people getting excited again, which is great. And I've known Bronson for a long time. He's a great guy, and a lot of people should get to know him. And the fact that he is able to bring younger people in, get them involved. The turnout that we had at the boards and commission thing 2 weeks ago was fantastic. It's good to see that involvement, and we've always had wonderful involvement from our senior citizens who give more to this city than anyone else, and it's kind of the lifeblood of building the city in our community and keeping it going. And we thank all of you for that. But going forward, Farmers Branch, one thing that I would like to implement is a new long-term vision, a new plan of where we want to be 20 years out. And so forming a committee of people from 18 to 100 that want to get involved from, all different, walks of life that want to come in and give to the city and have ideas. I would love for their input to shape the city that we're going to build and be the things that we're going to chip away at. And I would love the start of that to be input from our council members, with the projects that they want to see, because they're in tune with what's going on and working with city staff to kind of build that, but not, promoting an environment to where people feel comfortable coming to us and talking to us and knowing that we're going to keep an open mind and listen to you. If you have a question or an idea, we're going to get back to you, whether it's something that you find favorable or not. You deserve an answer. And so, my attitude is always to keep an open mind. There's really not a bad idea. There's implementing bad ideas, but hearing ideas can lead to great ideas. And so, I welcome the input from our community, from our residents, from 5 years old to 100. Feel free to share something if you have it. And so I hope that by promoting a welcoming environment, we will unify, and that we do have everyone's interest in mind, whether you're on one side or the other. I know there's been a lot of division in our city, and I hope that being able to talk to both sides and knowing that we do have a lot of your interests in mind and a lot of your interests in mind, but let's pull them together to create that new plan to move forward and move forward together. And in terms of civility, I might have answered it in there, but it is being respectful to one another. It's, having that environment where you can share ideas and not feel the need like you're going to be ridiculed or something, because you're allowed to have a difference of opinion. And, being able to communicate that and do so respectfully is a sign of a smart, intelligent community that's working to move forward. And that's something I hope to foster.
Now, I appreciate the next question, because for a year and a half, I lived 1 block from Kansas State University. And you think, well, why is that interesting, Matt? Because the parking issue was red hot violent when I lived in Manhattan, Kansas. Code enforcement is a big concern. How will you get involved so city workers, including police for cars, do their jobs? I see police cars drive by homes where cars block the sidewalks but never stop.
So the parking issue has been a big one for years. And, we live in a society where it seems like everyone has a car, and you have a limited amount of spaces. And a lot of homes throughout the years have had their garages converted. So where are you going to put these cars other than in the driveways, which, are normal length, but you're going to fit 2 cars unless you have further depth. So you see a lot of cars on the streets. And so the concern there is how narrow they are, cars getting by, and, a kid's going to dart out. I look at Farmers Branch Park as an example at nights when soccer practice is going on and cars line both sides. You have to go slow. I mean, you don't know who's just going to run out from a car, and it just seems dangerous. But working with code enforcement and, the city to find the best solution for that is something we need to tackle responsibly, because, I feel sometimes the parking problem is targeted to certain areas. And, we need an ordinance that respects all neighborhoods at the same time, but is fair. And, I don't have the answer now, but is something that I would look into and try to find a solution, look at other cities that have had similar problems that have been able to find solutions that work for everyone involved and try to implement those here. There are case studies out there where this has been an issue. They've probably resolved it, and it's something we need to look into further.
You'll truly be Socrates if you solve the parking problems. Yeah, I get the part that's not funny, of course, is can the fire truck get down your street? How do you believe we should engage city employees to identify problems, areas for improvement, and recognizing well-performing programs for employees?
Well, first, I'll say we have some of the best staff, in the country. If anyone's worked with anyone that works at the city, how friendly they are, how responsive, and how much they truly care about our community. And it's great to see that. And, working with the city and the employees, I would love to encourage them to keep doing the great things that they do, seek out new programs and new ways to do things, because they're so intimate with the projects that they do and tackle for us, to where, let's encourage them to come up with the next great idea that's going to move our city forward, stuff that we can implement that we as a council might not be thinking about. We would get to know the people in these departments and what they're doing, but they're there every day. That's their job. They understand it more than we ever could. And so how do we lean on that and lean on some of the ideas that we might have, some of the ideas we get from our residents, to implement that and share that. And I want, the city employees to feel comfortable coming to not only their supervisors, but the council as well with any ideas, and share their concerns and feel free, to have an opinion on things. And, rewarding our employees for great work is something you should do anywhere. You got to recognize those that are doing outstanding work, because that encourages others to do the same, especially when they feel that their work is being recognized and valued by people at the top.
The next 2 questions are somewhat repetitive. here again, I will combine them because they're related financially. You want new and now. How do you propose to pay for it? And then part B, what is your feeling about the city council issuing certificates of obligations after the citizens have voted on an item and it failed to pass? Those questions are somewhat related.
So I've answered the second one. You know, if you guys vote something down, I'm not going to do it. Certificate of obligations, in my opinion, are things for emergency items, things that you need to absolutely be done. You know, if there's a disaster and a bridge gets blown out or something, we don't have the funds, yes, raise the money and do that. But, you know, for other projects that might just be frivolous, you know, let's push off, let's find it in our budget somewhere. You know, let's use tax money and budget for the next year, 2 years out to get it done, you know, responsibly without, you know, going against the taxpayers' wishes. And regarding new and now, you know, my goal is to stay within our budget, stay within the money that we are generating through tax revenue and building, you know, a stronger commercial base, you know, using those funds as well. I think, you know, on the books, and thank you for sharing, you know, in the next several years, we have another $1.5 billion worth of development that's going to be on our books and something we can draw on. You know, some of that will be foregone through tips and stuff that were, you know, I guess implemented to get the project across the line, but whatever we can gather and get from commercial and the new developments, you know, roll that in and look for ways to expand our ability to fund projects. And, you know, as those developments play out, you know, that's where we get back to, let's then cut the tax rate and bring it back down to lower levels once we're able to sustain, you know, new city staff and services that are going to be needed for some of these projects. And we feel comfortable where we are not only with reserves, you know, but our budget and budget going forward and how that's going to be in line with a long-term plan.
Do you need a sip of water?
Did you hear my voice?
Sounded a little dry.
I don't know if that's a dig or not.
Now that Texas has a sanctuary city law, what will you do to help the police implement it and still keep the confidence, I'm going to change one word in this question, and still keep the confidence of our immigrant residents? This would be immigrants from all over the world, not just one place.
North and South, Canadians. So if it's implemented in state law, it's something we're going to need to adhere to because there will be fines attached to that, not only for the city, but for elected officials as well. So how do we stand behind our police officers and the people that are going to be tasked with doing this extra work and enforcing these rules, and letting them know that we are behind them and, you know, that we will support them any way that we can. But we also need to be transparent, you know, with those that, you know, the undocumented people here in Farmers Branch that, you know, are at risk, you know, because of this, and, you know, assuring them that we're going to do everything within the codes of the law, and, you know, that we understand there's going to be frustrations both from people that are undocumented and people that are here legally that feel like this is an attack on them. And, you know, it's letting them know that, you know, our police are here to do their job. They're going to do so responsibly. We're not here to just go out and, you know, I guess target people for, you know, this ordinance, but we're going to do so in keeping with the standards that our police and fire have, which are some of the best, not only in the state, but in the country. And so, you know, I think our citizens, you know, if there is outreach needed, you know, we have Ana Reyes, you know, who can speak to the Hispanic community that might be most effective. We have Chief Hale, who's dealt with these situations before, so there's experience there that we can lean on. And, you know, we should be grateful that we have that, but it's letting them know that, you know, we can sympathize with the frustration, but, you know, if you choose to protest or, you know, speak out, do so responsibly, because we are a community, and, you know, we are trying to be one and back one another, and we know that not everyone in our city is undocumented. So let's not unfairly judge someone or assume that they are not, you know, either documented or not. So it's disseminating that information, being very transparent and clear, and letting everyone know that they have our support that we're going to do this and do it fairly and responsibly for all the people in this town.
That is all the subjects that were from the cards that were submitted. So now we'll open the floor to your question. So we'll start right here with this gentleman. Allow me to bring you the microphone because everyone wants to hear your question.
I have to go pretty soon, so I just need to ask you if you can give me a brief list of what are the differences between you and your opponent, and why should I vote for you?
I'm going to start with the first one. It's 37 years. The second one is, I'll just, Harold has been on council for 9 years. He has, but he also has 9 years of track record of different ways that he's voted that a lot of people, including myself, have maybe been frustrated with in terms of decisions to continue on with things, to some of the certificates of obligation. And I know he's only one vote, and there's more there, but you still have that voting record. And it's something that could carry on forward. And Harold's championed the demo rebuild program. It's something I would champion, but I think it needs to be expanded. We need to find new ways to help people with, that want to stay in their homes, to renovate and, upgrade the facade to boost, tax value there. And is there a way that we can put that new value back on the books, which is going to raise home values, but still keep home values, at a good price so that, younger families can move into our community and do so with some affordable homes and homes that have been upgraded but still look nice and add to the character and, small town feel of Farmers Branch. Harold recently has talked about cutting the tax rate, implementing the senior freeze, which I've spoken against. He also wants to grow the commercial tax base, but one of the decisions they made was to convert the west side. And so I've said from the beginning, I understand the overarching theme there, that by adding those home values is going to do some things to attract retail and restaurants. And there's some long-term vision there, but I didn't agree with the TIF and giving away a lot of things that I feel like some developers would have been on the hook for. Have that stayed commercial or been industrial, which is, a majority of what I do. We put the roads and then the sewer and everything else in and dedicated to the city, which would have still been the case. There wouldn't have been as many city services that would need to be implemented over there. And so were there other ways or other strategies to find ways to buy down that value of the land, which was the biggest sticking point to put it commercial. And so it's, that kind of decision for me, my finance background, I might have looked at it a different way. And so, also being a little bit younger, I have, the future on my mind. I'm here to build a city that I plan on living in for another 20, 30, 40 years, helping shape that community, not only for me, but all my friends that live here and the new and younger families that are going to want to live here as well. And so with that in mind, what you're getting from me is a young, excited, energetic mayor that will champion the city like no one else and go out and meet with the retailers, the restaurants, the businesses to bring them here, work with the developers, because I understand their side of the equation. And, speaking from our side of the equation, I think that's something that not everyone can add to help, not only with the DART station, but repositioning the east side, to be ready for Midtown and the developments that are happening there, and just looking at new, innovative ways to move the city forward. And I think that's where I differ. Thank you.
From the north side of the room, is there a question?
Yes, sir. What specific experiences or successes have you had in your short business career that you should convince us that you can be more successful at economic development than the city's seasoned economic team is, and all of which have vastly more business experience than you do?
That's a good question. So, experience, I have about 10, 11 years of experience in commercial real estate development, mostly in industrial, which in my past, I've worked on various projects, not only in Texas, but in Mexico, in You know, while I was at Ridge, I managed about 3 million, 4 million square feet of product, depending on, you know, where we were in the cycle of selling product. But, you know, in terms of stepping out on my own, you know, I was currently the project at DFW that I've mentioned to a lot of you is a project with Bandera Ventures, where I worked with them to design the site, do all the underwriting, kind of put a lot of those pieces together, the proposals, working with the DFW airport, working with contractors, architects, civil engineers to ensure that this site is going to be very viable. And what we came up with was 5 buildings, 1.4 million square feet, which is going to be a $100 million project, of which, you know, I'm involved with them. You can ask them, I've been very beneficial in that stance. And so, you know, my skill set comes into taking something that's not there and seeing what needs to be there based on market dynamics and metrics. You know, where's the supply and demand? You know, what do we need to build? Is it the right product type? You know, some people say would build a 1 million square footer, but based on the market there on the south end of DFW Airport, and North GSW, what I see is you have smaller tenants from 100,000 square feet to 200,000 square feet. So we built buildings that matched up to that and programmed out that those are the type of tenants who are probably going to come in. And so those were a lot of the thoughts and processes that went into it. And, you know, there's other sites I'm working on trying to type a piece of land in McKinney because, you know, what I see there is growth. But I also look at the market there and I see that there's zero vacancy and there's zero velocity. But you can't have velocity, which is leasing up space, tenants going in. So what I see there is there's zero velocity. And there's zero velocity because there's zero space. So, you know, I target that as an area that I would go and develop. And while the first project that I attempted when I came out on my own was in Garland, it was another market that had similar market dynamics, very low vacancy, well below their historical averages. I felt it was prime for development. I tried to put a land piece under contract. Someone came in and offered $1 million more and they sold it and built it a different product type. I was looking for something smaller that I felt matched up with the market there. And, you know, more in line with what I've seen historically in Garland. And it would have been a 4-building program, about 500,000 square feet. And they came in and just put one large 400,000 square foot building. And so by doing that, you know, they were able to pay a little bit more money, but that's okay. It's the name of the game, it happens. But I'm still out there chasing the projects and, you know, I've been out on my own, but, you know, when you compete with a lot of big name developers and given the development in Dallas-Fort Worth, you realize that there are some challenges. And it's been fun trying to overcome some of those challenges and find the hard, you know, spots that people aren't thinking about. And so that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, I take some of those skill sets and that thinking and the way of evaluating, you know, the market and what's happening, not only in real estate, but for a city as well, and implement that as mayor. Good. Does that answer your question?
Question from this side.
Robert, the thing that you mentioned a couple times today is the demo rebuild project, and I was wondering if you could talk about the perspective that I have a little bit of concern about with it, and that is what happens when and it seems to me that these are related to tearing down a house on a particular property and building something bigger, newer, maybe 2-story in a 1-story neighborhood. What happens to the new residents after they buy a property? Do they see the value of it going down because of the other houses that are in the neighborhood with it then?
So I don't see the value necessarily going down. You know, as I stated earlier, you have 100,000 people plus moving to Dallas-Fort Worth a year, and we haven't been able to keep up with the demand in terms of home. So what you're getting is pressure on the supply versus the demand, which is causing home prices to rise, which we've all, you know, benefited from here over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's been tremendous. And so the market forces are there for that rising tide of values for people to come in and buy these homes and build the big ones. Now what happens in a pullback? You know, I don't know, the valuation or the value of these homes are probably going to sit because, you know, through a cycle, you know, our cities, you know, the homes here are 50, 60 years old, you know, for the most part. And so what you see is, you know, they were brand new homes at the beginning. They're now 50 years old. And people kept moving further and further north. But as they get north, you see people start to loop back and circle back to get closer to the city. So you see the similar demo rebuilds that are happening in, Lakewood, Industries, Preston Hollow, even on the other side of 635, kind of east of Marsh towards Jesuit. And so you see that trend moving this way in the market, requiring that. But, what can we do in the interim to expand that program and look at it not only on the residential side, but some of the commercial buildings that have aged here as well, that are going to need to be repositioned as well. We have a lot of older apartment complexes, is there an opportunity to knock those down and build, get a little bit more dense there, build it higher, add value, provide a nicer, living environment there, but relax the code to where we would allow for, Section 8 HUD to come back in at 10% for those tax credits that you see in a lot of these other areas, so that people who are living there still have an opportunity to live in the city that they love. And so, we can help, expand bases there, build new apartments, help the image of some of these areas, by expanding those programs. And not only that, as I spoke to earlier, there are opportunities to, allow people for renovations, so long as we can put those dollars back on the tax rolls, and collect from those increased values, but allow people to improve the homes that we already have here, that have that feel from 50, 60 years ago that keeps our heritage and our small town feel.
And more side of the room, does anyone want to ask a question?
So I think everybody in the room, we choose to live in Farmers Branch for reasons instead of moving to Frisco or anywhere else. So Frisco, with all the development they have, and they're getting national spotlight, what types of developments would you say are different and distinctive that you'd be looking for in Farmers Branch that won't make us homogenous with every other big growth suburb, but keeps our characteristics as far as who Farmers Branch is and why we choose to live here?
So it's a great question, and some things that council members in the past have been working on, trying to see things that are coming. I speak to the East Side redevelopment plan. They're going to have a new development kickoff, which is going to be fantastic. We're renovating the great outdoor space, a brand new apartment complex, a restaurant's office, a brand new office tower, and
Where is that? I'm not aware.
So that is it. That is at Alpha and basically Inwood, right along the tollway, right before you cross into Dallas. And so the opportunities there lend to the new Midtown development, which is going to be the Valley View Mall, which is going to be a massive, large-scale development over there. It's basically going to create a supercharged kind of shops at Legacy. New office towers, new housing, parks, kind of redo that whole area. But, those are opportunities that can lead over to Farmers Branch, and we need to be ready for that, but we need to be ready in a way that isn't Midtown. It's unique, it's different, it's going to give people a reason to want to cross over the tollway and come in and check out, our wonderful city. And with the DART station, you see a lot of transient-oriented development around town. I look at Richardson. There's a reason that State Farm chose Richardson is because the DART rail was there. They had land, they had a solid workforce, and something they could pull from. That's something that I feel like our city could attract as well. Maybe not the exact same thing or the exact scale because we don't have the same size that they do, but we have the same options. And so what can we do to bolster that area and create something that is unique? An idea is potentially a new arts and culture center, something that plays off of Firehouse Theater and our historical park and brings people there to, enjoy our culture, enjoy the history of North Texas, and kind of have different things to, play off of. Can we get, some restaurants that are in other areas of the city that haven't moved north yet? I'm thinking some in Bishop Arts, Deep Ellum, Lower Greenville, those kind of places to where when you get that crowd that comes in, you keep that buzz, but we don't need to build something that they build at every other station. It needs to be different, and that's where I want the input from our citizens, the people that know this town, say, let's keep it small, let's keep it unique, let's keep it Farmers Branch. And so let's build and program to that effect, something that's different. Like I said, you keep it homogenous, but Carrollton doesn't have it, Irving doesn't have it, Midtown's not going to have it, North Dallas isn't going to have it. They're going to come here, and hopefully it becomes a destination for people, not only for people outside of Dallas, but it's a place that Farmers Branch citizens have that community feel and a place to hang out and two things. You know, we have a few restaurants here. We have some new ones that are coming online here shortly. You know, Cox Farms, with some restaurants that are going to be there that are kicking it off. But let's build around that and continue that growth. There's some things that are going to need to be done to see that happening, which is part of the reason I'm still advocating for, you know, keeping our tax rate the same so that we can use those money to prepare that area for that development that we all want. And so, you know, it's like you said, it's keeping it unique, it's keeping it small town feel, and it's keeping it Farmers Branch. And that's what, you know, I see happening there.
May I add to that question?
Yes, let me bring you the microphone.
Okay. I was wondering how much land the city owns at the Dart rail station. Do you know what it is, what is private and how much the city owns?
So, they own a few pieces of it. I know that the company, the people that own the apartment, they own some of the section as well. Been working with the city in hand to buy some of these areas, you know, for development because they believe in that area. And it's been, you know, from my understanding, a great partnership and something, you know, you love to see from a developer, people that are passionate about that. But, you know, your challenges are going to be the TLC building. You know, the school district owns that. You know, are we able to figure out a way to acquire that from them, but in a way that, you know, I guess that's been some of the friction is, you know, they have a lot invested in that building, but, you know, how do we make them understand the long-term vision of what can be built there and the value that it's going to create, not only for Farmers Branch, but for attracting people to move here, which is going to benefit the school in the long run, and that amount of value that's going to bleed back into our school districts, you know, they can pay for that building a few times over. So let's find a brand new building, a new technology center that's customized for them, but pays a way for kids to go there again and learn and to have the, you know, the future in mind. And so it's not only that, but it's the retail. And so there's quite a big land area there, one that I think is about the size of West Village in Uptown. So you could have a substantial development there, but it's, you know, do we want something that big, or do we want something, you know, that speaks to Farmers Branch? But we will need the density there to attract some of the businesses and have the foot traffic and for the people to come out. And so, you know, the city owns quite a bit of land. They have a few pieces of land that they still need to give, which, you know, some of those buildings that I just talked about. But I think they've done a good job, you know, having the foresight to acquire that land over a long period of time.
Very good.
Okay, south side of the room. Kathleen, no question.
I have another one, please.
Okay, here we go.
Thank you. Mr. Dye, it's been reported that you've been arrested and booked into jail 6 times on a total of 8 offenses, including 4 separate intoxication charges, 1 assaulting a police officer, 1 use of a false ID, and you've been charged with violating the terms of your bonds on 2 different occasions. Can you deny the accuracy of these reports, and how can we be assured that you're mature enough now to avoid future incidents like this?
I think that's a great question, and we can speak to those. And, you know, of the alcohol-related offenses, yes, those did happen. Unfortunately, in 2009, over 8 years ago, you know, during my the first time I was convicted of the DWI, I was involved in assaulting a police officer. It's in the report, but, you know, given some of the facts around that case, it was dropped immediately, and I was never, you know, taken to court over it or anything, and it was essentially no bill, you know. And, you know, but on the false ID thing, that was a complete misunderstanding. I went out with my friend. He didn't have his wallet. I had his ID in my pocket. He was with me that night, so it's not like I was trying to misrepresent who I was or anything. And regarding moving forward, on the probation things, some of those were mistests due to being out of the country. And, you know, Collin County is very strict on people in their DWI offenses, and they should be. it's something I'm not proud of. It's something that kind of remote, something that I would speak out against. We live in a society where, it's strong against alcohol, but then we send kids off to college, without the education, understanding of the binge drinking culture, that perpetuates the situation that we see across the board. I know most of us here know someone that's been affected with drunk driving and things, and it's terrible. And, the second one, I admit it, I was convicted, but it opened up my eyes, and it wouldn't have led me to do the things that I wanted to do or make the life changes that I've made since then. And so moving forward, I wanted to live a life that's more purposeful, something that gives back, something that speaks to who I am as a person. And that's caring about my friends, my family, my community, and wanting to serve those that I care about. And, you have my word with me going forward. I'm not going to get in trouble again because I can't. I'm best when my back's against the wall. And with two, pretty much assured that, the third one's, that's it for me. Not only for my career, but for so many other things. And I value my life. You have my word that that's not going to be something you'll ever read about in the paper again for me.
Thank you.
In fairness to Robert, speaking personally, think that's why Harold is not here, because he will not answer the hot questions that relate to him and sexual harassment of the city employee. So,
Well, I'd like to also say that I'm about to pull up Harold's arrest record.
No, it's,
well.
No. You're gonna ask that question? You're gonna ask that question? Then the other question should be answered. What was Harold arrested for? And he will not come here and answer that.
There was no arrest.
There was an arrest, it's
There was
on
no
the
arrest.
list. There was an arrest.
There was absolutely no arrest.
You're lying.
I'm not lying.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go out here where the stuff is a little bit easier to download, and I'm pulling it up, and you're a liar.
That's civility for you.
I encourage each of you to reach your own opinion as to why Harold's not here, or to contact Harold and ask him. So, but Robert stood here and answered a very personal, hot question, which was an appropriate question. I do not criticize the question. And all I can say is I'm glad no one's ever peeked into the history of the 1st Infantry Division. From 1976 to 1979, both in Kansas, the Mojave Desert, and Germany. Do we have any other questions? Yes. Let me hand you the microphone.
All right, so, I don't need the microphone. I have a question. As relating the behavior of city staff, there are online copies of communications between the city manager and the police chief indicating that a council member that's running for mayor behaved or spoke inappropriately to a female member of the council. And that is there. It was released under the Freedom of Information Act. And so what my question is, that apparently the city council chose not to act. There is supposed to be a very clear code of ethics by state law. There's a state statute, I don't really have that number memorized, that indicates that any remark of a sexual nature by an elected official is considered official oppression. That's the state statute that applies to any elected official, even if you were elected dog catcher. My question is, do you believe, if you're elected mayor, that you would implement a code of ethics and a process that would be open to the citizens to enforce the laws of the state that apply to the elected officials of this city, and that there would be transparency when there was proof that such behavior occurred?
So I can't speak to the decisions of what was made in the past or not. And I'm not here to do that, but going forward, I think that our elected officials need to be held to the same or even higher standard than those that are employed by the city or anywhere. Offenses of that nature are not to be taken lightly, and it is something that we all need to be more cognizant about, something that we all need to understand more deeply, because what you say to people, even in your own mind, might be harmless. You don't know how someone else is going to receive that same comment. And so we need to be more thoughtful and more aware of what we're saying and how we address people. And I think that promoting positive behavior and those things and holding each other accountable is what we all need to do, no matter the offense. And if offense and I guess investigation is warranted, it doesn't need to be separate. We all need to be held to the same standard and held accountable for our actions.
I have a question.
Yes.
So recently I ran into you at Starbucks and you mentioned that you were on your way to listen to, I think, third graders talk about persuasive or give persuasive speeches, and that it was a mentoring program that you were involved in. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you got involved in that and why?
So, a good friend of mine who works at Farmers Branch Elementary let me know that there was a program there where they mentored kids that were having trouble at home or with their family, but needed needed, a friend, someone to hang out to. I always like to give back. And
Please speak into the microphone.
Yeah, okay.
You can't hear you.
Sorry.
You can't hear the people who are asking questions because they're not either. Speak into the mic, please.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So they turned me on to that program, and so what you do is you're paired with a second, third, fourth, fifth grader, whoever's in need of help, to kind of spend an hour with them, help them with reading games, but more importantly, just be a friend and hang out with them. And so, it seemed like a great opportunity, and I met this nice young man who, when we first started, it was, I don't want to get into the specifics of that because I feel like that's something between us, but he was having trouble, and towards the end of the semester, you could see a complete turnaround, more outgoing, more confident in himself, and, reinforcing, the things that they do well, encouraging them, I think is something that's going to allow them to succeed in school and, make more friends and feel like everything's all right. It's something that I would challenge all of you to look into. They have a program in Field too, something that I would love to, which I told Ms. Mendoza at Farmers Branch Elementary that, I'd expand to the middle school because they need the help more than the elementary kids. It's harder to find mentors at that level. People, I guess, are unsure of kids that are going through a lot. That's when they're making their most changes in life, but that's also the time that they probably most need somebody. And so, in terms of the day that I was going there, they had third graders, which I mentor a second grader, but they were writing persuasive papers and wanted to share them with adults to feel like they were being persuasive. And so we're there to listen to them, give them feedback, encouragement, and it's a great opportunity.
I was handed another question. I'm not sure this is fair to ask a young man. 25 years ago, Farmers Branch budget was a pay-as-we-go system. Is City of Farmers Branch still on that kind of system? If not, will Farmers Branch ever be that way again? How does the budget work now?
Well, I guess because we have $34 million in debt obligations, we are no longer a pay-as-you-go city. So, with that being said, what you need to do is look at the budget. With $34 million, we're still very healthy. I think that represents 14% of our cost each year, which is phenomenal when you look on the books and in terms of how you're financed. how you're going to fund projects largely depends on your tax base, how reliable it is, and what the rates are, and the rates that we're able to achieve. And so that's something that the council, city manager, and the finance department all need to look at with a fine lens and say, what do we want to do moving forward? What makes the most sense? How can we get the most bang for our buck for our citizens? And I would advocate for pay-as-you-go because it's, I enjoy low debt, not really having much because you don't owe anybody anything. You don't have to worry about, defaulting on things. And so, that's why using current funds to continue to do the programs that are, continue to do the programs that we want to achieve, I think is the best way, without raising more bond funds and, burdening more people with even more taxes to pay.
Any other questions?
Well, yeah. I have a comment.
One moment, give me a chance.
Always ladies.
When you finished the hamburger.
Okay. When I went by the police department, and they had a police department day, they mentioned that their policy on sanctuary cities was if anyone comes into the criminal system, justice system, then they're automatically reported to, I guess it's ICE. So it's automated environment, according to that policeman. He also said that they're short about 12 to 13 police at present because of the high requirements that the police department has. I think there's 75 positions and they're short 12 or so. And apparently this is applying to every police department or many police departments in Texas. So the first question is, do you agree with the policy as it stands now, and that's a reasonable policy? And what would we do to recruit more police?
So the issue you're talking about, I believe, is the 287G program, which I think we have an officer on staff that, if someone comes in and could be suspected to be someone that's on ICE's list, we can look it up and either detain them, contact ICE, they can say either detain them or let them go. So that's something that's there, and I know it's a hot button issue. It's something that needs to be investigated further because not everyone, I guess, in my opinion, it's a very, very delicate situation. I know that a lot of people. You're getting a lot of heat in Carrollton for that ordinance right now, and I don't hear much about it here in Farmers Branch. Frankly, the first I've heard talk about it in several months. But regarding being 12 or 13 officers short, and challenge being how high our standards are, I think it's fantastic that we have high standards because we have some of the best police and fire in the country. And so to join our force, you have to meet their standards of excellence, and that's something that I want because we don't have the issues that you see other places, and that makes our citizens feel safe. It lets us feel okay to go outside and night, walk around, and not have to worry about everything because our crime rate is so low. Our response time is fast, but we do need to figure out how to be properly staffed and take care of them. And some of the issues that I know council's been faced with recently is not only the pay but the length of their retirement. A lot of other cities are 20 years or 25. There's a funding requirement to get our TMRS up to the level to sustain that, to where people that put their life on the line every day for us can feel comfortable knowing that they can retire 20 years. That's something that I would push for that might help, more of the stronger recruits from other cities that are already qualified, to work in our city to choose Farmers Branch. And I think that's, if we can use some of our current funds that are available to us or other ways, maybe we can find the answer to that problem and, be properly staffed and maintain the same level of exceptional service that we all receive.
There was a mention of a dog park, hoping to get one maybe created or something.
There you go.
But we have 20-plus parks. Wouldn't it be easier, rather than create a new space, to convert an existing one so that it would be cheaper? Because
That's,
Just a moment. Did everyone hear the question?
I'll repeat it. So the question was, we have 22 parks. And would it be easier to reconvert an existing park into a dog park? And so the challenge has been, which park? Because the people that live near those parks love that park and don't want it to be a place where even more people are going. So it's, where do we find an area that is being underutilized to reposition, but we also want something that's accessible to people and be around other things, which I know it was brought up in the past, but something I would love to revisit is the Montgomery situation. Some of the issues there is that they're still trying to figure out their demographic needs for the next 10 to 20 years. So are they still going to need that building that's being used or not? Is there an opportunity to buy that building, knock it down, but sit on a ground lease with some renewals so that we can use that in the interim, to solve our problem while still keeping that land available for them in the future, but giving us enough of a horizon to find a new solution should we need one, if they need that area back for another school. If we get the school children kind of demographics back up to support the need for another school in our city. It's exploring different opportunities. It's looking at the parks. It's meeting with the residents that would be open to it. And it's been a challenge to date. And it's something that we need to work on. But I think there's solutions out there. We just need to be creative.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to embarrass anybody here, but I realize our city's been in the media off and on over the years. We've had a lot of adverse media, and we don't need any more. And I would like to ask you if you would assure the community that if you're elected as mayor and you're arrested for DWI. No, wait, just let me finish, please.
Let him finish.
Please, it's fair, because other mayors
okay.
and public officials have resigned when they've had this issue or even more serious issues. It's a fair question.
Go ahead.
What would your reaction be if this befalls you? Would you apologize and resign?
I
It's
would.
fair. It's a fair question.
It's a fair question.
It is.
If it happens again,
Sure.
yeah, I will apologize to the city. I will resign, but I would be required to take a mandatory year off of all things. Because, your third offense is a felony. It's required jail time. And it's something that I never want to experience, which is why earlier, you might not have been here, but, I made the promise to everyone here that that is not something that's going to happen to me again.
No one wants to see a mayor stumble, regardless of their political persuasions. I don't want to see you personally stumble either, even if I vote against you. I want the city to be always uplifted and honored in everything, and to be successful and prosperous.
I appreciate that comment, and I too want the same things for our city. This is my hometown. I love this city, and I would never do anything to give it a black eye.
Gentleman here has a question.
Since this gentleman here asked about the city having a whole bunch of black eyes, let me ask you this. About, I don't know, what, 8, 10, 12 months ago, there was an off-duty police officer, Farmers Branch, that took it upon himself. Once again, he was off-duty. So he was not on duty when he had an incident. It reflected really bad on the city. And unfortunately, this is a very touchy subject, but I kind of disagree with how the family handled it, because it's not the city's fault on what the officer did. He's off duty. So since we're talking about black eyes, how does the city, or you as mayor, how are you going to handle that kind of a situation where someone's not on the job and they do something?
I mean, it kind of goes back to the idea that you represent who you work for all the time. And so whether you're on duty or not, that needs to be in your mind. And something that, should something happen, like in this situation, the first thing that was reported was that he was an officer for the city, even though he was off duty. It's the first thing they linked. And so, as a city, you're going to be drugging the media, and the stories are going to be written, and people are going to be looking at you for answers. And so, you have to be ready to deal with those situations. And I believe that, Councilwoman Reyes and a few of our other people in the city stepped up and handled it quickly and quietly and, for the best interest of the city. And I hope that we are in a position and ready and able to act again should something like that happen, so that we are, even though he was off duty, and it shouldn't be our responsibility, but it is our responsibility because that's the way it's going to be reported. So we need to take the measures to be proactive and cut it off before it goes too bad for any of us.
And there's a question back here.
I have a statement. You may go to Dallas County Felony and Misdemeanor Court Case Information, type in Harold's name, and you get date of birth, 11/10/47, case bond number, and the charge. And yes, it was no billed, but he was arrested, and it's right here. So I don't know why you said he was not arrested. Were you unaware? No, it's right here. You told me that you were unaware.
If
You said he was not arrested.
Are you going to let me talk, or are you going to keep overriding? Whoa.
So-
Well, no,
Now
she
you
asked-
get to
she asked-
stand.
She asked me a question.
Well, you said he was not arrested.
He was not arrested. That is.
Oh, this is a lie?
No, that's not a lie. That is a report that shows that he had a no bill, but there is nothing in there that says he was actually arrested. If you actually
It
go.
says charge assault.
If you actually go and review all the records, you'll see there was never an arrest made. You don't always have a charge if there's no arrest. You may want to insinuate that, but.
You may not have a charge if there's no arrest. He was charged.
I'm sorry, if you don't understand that you don't always get arrested. If your point is there was a grand jury investigation and there
It
was no
says
bill.
case bond. Here's a case bond number.
Are you going to continue to interrupt
You, I
me?
have the mic. You're the one that stood up and interrupted
You were
me.
the one that asked me if I was not aware of that.
Okay, you know what? Anybody can go out here. It's out here. I said it in fairness so that anyone saying that he was not arrested or was never charged, sorry, that is not true.
So,
Yeah, let's get an answer. I mean, get it there.
Her point
Harold's
is,
not here, she's not about Harold.
Well, Harold doesn't show up for anything.
well, maybe we can all agree after this to end any discussion about my past
I
or
think that would be
Harold's
great.
tonight. Because the only thing that matters right now is us moving this city forward, whether it's
well, let's do this. That is on a public website, so you guys.
That's all I
work it out.
wanted to say.
But if you Google it, apparently it's there for the public to see, for potential employers or,
Carol, I believe you have a question?
Yeah. Could you tell us the early voting dates and the election day?
So, early voting is May 30th through June 6th. And so, that Tuesday through, I believe, the 3rd, which is Saturday, it's 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at City Hall. Sunday, the 4th, is from 1 to 6 p.m. The 5th and 6th, that Monday and Tuesday, are from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. All of those dates are at City Hall. On the 10th, which is the actual election day, that is from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., which will be at your precinct location, which will either be City Hall or the Farmers Branch Rec Center. So, check your voter registration card. You don't need that with you when you vote, just a valid ID to make it easier so you don't have to scramble, before you get in there. But those are early voting and election day information for everybody.
Okay, Robert spoke for an hour and 15 minutes, so let's bring it to an end, and then he's going to be here to answer your personal questions if you want to walk up to him. And thank you very much for coming, and hopefully everyone.
I think Mr. Olivo.
Okay, Andy, do you want to come up here? Do you have something to tell us? Yes,
Yeah, come on up.
Come up here.
Show me.
Okay. you very much. I'm glad to be here. This is great. This is great. My main concern is that we go forward. Obviously, I ran because I thought I was a better candidate. Obviously, I was wrong. It doesn't make any difference. I'll be involved. My main concern is this, is that I want somebody as mayor who basically can look after the city. I have nothing really against Harold. Fine, you know. Harold talks to buildings. Robert talks to people. You know, I kind of like that. And you ask me, some people ask me why I would endorse Robert. Well, the thing I have, I've talked to Robert a number of times after this process and so forth. And what I really want is a city council that looks after the city. And not any certain group, I'd say. And if you have Robert doing that, I think you'll be able to talk to John, you know, he's very bright, Terry, Bronson. I think there'll be a balancing factor. Now, it is quite true that he may get abused a little bit, you know, because he's new. But I'm sure that's to be expected. But I'm sure the city council will talk to him and they'll negotiate, talk. He'll take the advice of the city manager, the city attorney, and go on. I feel very confident about that. You know, I served a lot of many years on council before, not here in Carrollton, and you always have to learn. But when you have a city council that's diverse, they can talk and so forth, I think it works out great. But if they all think the same, watch out. Then you're going to get the boards and everything else the same. I don't think you really want that. And I think Robert is a good balancing factor for that. That's why I started to vote for him. I think he's a good man. Give him a chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming. Hopefully you found it very informative. And some of the greatest people in town are right here, right now, listening to Robert, asking tough questions, getting answers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank all of you for being here. It's absolutely tremendous. And look forward to seeing you all at the polls.